Buddy. Thanks for clicking this video. Thanks for tuning into my channel. This is our Sunday tradition, our live stream where I chop it up with my beautiful, lovely, sexy, gorgeous, white wife. I just want to trigger people. I just want to trigger people because people comment almost every day, "You're talking crazy and you are married to a white woman," and stuff like that. So I just have to trigger people. But I hope that doesn't make you weird.
No, I'm fine. I am white, or at least white looking. I don't know,
Yeah.
Middle Eastern something.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about the Middle East today, but I didn't mean to do that. Let me ask you something. Does it bother you when I do the joke? Okay, I can't be racist, guys. My wife is white. Does that bother you?
No, why would that bother me?
Because, like, I don't know. I do it sometimes because people jump into the chat and say, "Oh, Simon's so racist. He hates white people and stuff like that."
No, it does not bother me. I mean, it's the truth. Plus, like, if you think about it, white people love to flaunt their black people that they know
Okay.
random. So,
Wait, are you saying it's the truth? I hate white people.
no, you don't hate white people. Your wife is white.
No, I don't. I don't. You know, I don't, right?
Yeah, I know.
All right. Anyway, we have a lot to talk about. We're only going to be here for an hour because we just came from outside. It's super cold. We're kind of tired. I only got like 4 hours of sleep last night, and I got a big day tomorrow, a lot of classes. So we'll try to keep this short. But we're going to talk about starting off. Like, we have a second channel called Backpack Bandits. So all of y'all should check that out. Go subscribe, go like, go watch the Backpack Bandits channel for like extra content of me and my wife traveling to different places. And we have a lot of very dope and fun and interesting videos about Kenya dropping soon. And actually, we have like, I think 2 videos out on Kenya right now, right?
Yeah, one from like us going from Tanzania to Kenya, and then one our like first couple of days in Kenya, and another one, the third one is gonna drop like tomorrow. So yeah, check it out.
All right, yeah, check that out. Check that out. And so, like, we've been watching these videos and like laughing and dying, reminiscing,
Yeah.
and looking at all the fun places we've been and stuff like that. And I'm sure you're watching the videos, Acti, that you're editing and putting together, and you're like, "Wow, like that was actually an amazing experience," or Kenya was cool, or Tanzania wasn't that bad, and stuff like that. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Like sometimes when I was like there, like East Africa, Tanzania, and Kenya, it felt like a bit suffocating at times because I understood what it felt like to be like a visible stranger. There were like a lot of people, a lot of attention that I got that was like unnecessary and bothersome sometimes. So yeah, like when I was there, it felt a bit suffocating at times, though like it was still a great experience. But looking back at it, I feel like I want to go there again and, I don't know, possibly maybe like live at some part of it and not Tanzania, but Kenya, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, no, Kenya was actually cool. I would love to visit Kenya again because all the stuff we wanted to do in Tanzania, we can do in Kenya, like much cheaper and easier, like hiking mountains, going on safari. Like, we should definitely, like, going back to Kenya is definitely like top 10 things I want to do before I die. Like, that's
Yeah.
how important it is to me. And going back to Africa in general, like, because there's a lot to see in Africa, a lot to do, a lot to explore. I want to see the West Coast and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I definitely want to go back to Africa. Like, one of the first in my list is Ethiopia, for example. And I also want to see, damn, I forgot the name.
South Africa?
No, not South Africa. Damn, I forgot it. Ghana, yes. Um, yeah, I really want to see Ghana because if you remember, we watched that show that was like, I don't know, like Americans going to like other places to marry someone, and that guy went to Ghana, I think,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And it looked really dope. Like people looked like they were partying all the time, and everyone looked really chill. So, yeah, one of the I still have like a lot of places that I want to visit in Africa, and I
Yeah,
would like to like visit Kenya again.
yeah. So right now we're in Europe. We're out here in Budapest. So let's just compare. Like, you and I, we've lived together like in your home country in Turkey. We've been living here in Budapest for like 3, 4 months now. We
Hmm.
met in Serbia and we were living there. Like when we met, for about 3 or 4 months until we moved to Turkey and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
then we traveled around Africa and lived in Mauritius, Tanzania, Kenya. So let's just compare those different places. But let's first start with like the pros and cons of living in Africa. Let's just start there. So the
Okay.
pros and cons, and you can include Mauritius, Kenya, Tanzania. I don't know. What are the pros?
I mean, those are the three places that I've been. Just to make it clear, like Mauritius, Tanzania, and Kenya. The pros, I really, really, really enjoy like the nature everywhere, and like I see the videos, and it's like palm trees everywhere, and you can like eat fresh fruits and mangoes and coconuts everywhere, and that's basically like the street candy of Africa, and it's like really nice and fresh, and also for me, like a big pro of being in Africa was that like seeing how simple lives people live. And obviously, like, yes, in the very big cities and the skyscrapers and things like that, people live lavish lives, but I really like that simplicity and oneness with nature that people adopt there, and it doesn't like they don't have that feeling of oh, we're not that rich and things like that. They just seem like content with their life. Contempt, is that the word?
No, content is right, but I feel like they were more content with their life in Mauritius than in
Yeah,
Tanzania and Kenya, because in Tanzania and Kenya, like out in the streets, there's like a lot of hustle and bustle. You want to go to Matemwe, you want to go this, you want to do that, buy this, buy that. Like there's a lot of like hustling and a lot of that
yeah,
energy in the
of course.
streets.
Yeah, and yeah, obviously I'm not talking about like really, really like lavish like poor people. That's not who I'm talking about, but I'm just talking about like in general, like maybe some people that we met in pubs in Kenya, or that like two people that we met that took us from Mombasa to Diani.
Mm.
Remember, like, they were just
His
like,
name was Simon.
yeah, his name was Simon, and I like probably they're like young and they're just coming up, and yeah, they have like some money, but they're not like the richest people in the world. So I don't know. In general, I just felt like people were like just in tune with themselves and with nature, and they were just like liking the simplicity of life, and I really like enjoyed that sort of feeling
Mm.
from that.
Right. I'm
Like,
a
yeah,
go.
go.
I'm gonna just say my pros, the positive things about living in Africa are the cost of living first and foremost.
Hmm.
It's like one of the cheapest places you could live, though it's surprisingly expensive at some points in time. You know what I mean? It's like expensive if you want to do certain stuff like safari, mountain hiking, that sort of stuff in some places, right? And then uh, a second pro is the culture. So that includes the music, the art, the scenery, the
Yeah,
crazy buses that have like pictures of Lil Wayne and Jesus together. Like that's just some weird cultural stuff. So then also in the culture is the food. So you get good prices, good music, good food, good energy and like art and stuff like that. A lot of creativity, a lot of bustling. So
yeah,
those are like the positive things I would say. I
yeah,
would say. And maybe I'll say this, if you're like religious, like if you're like a real hardcore Muslim, or if you want to be really Christian, or if you want to get in touch with like your African religion, there's like a lot of religion in Africa. And that's one of the things that surprised me the most when we were in Tanzania and Kenya, like Adhan everywhere, Jesus, Jesus on the microphone and in the churches everywhere. So that's
yeah.
another thing I want to say.
Yeah, no, they definitely have probably like a strong community if you're into that sort of thing. You can find your like own religion community there, whether if it's like a Christianity, Hinduism, or like Muslim, Islam. So yeah, yeah, are like an expat in like earning dollars or euros or something like that, I think it would be very like affordable to live in Africa, at least like East Africa. But even Mauritius, it wasn't that like, expensive. And also another plus is like the weather and the beach.
I was
That's
about I was about to say that's my con though. My con is the weather. It's too damn hot. For me, it was like I don't know if you remember, we were taking like ice showers in Mombasa and we were like
Yeah.
sweating profusely. And the new video that we're going to drop on Backpack Bandits tomorrow, it's so funny. I'm walking through like Mombasa in the middle of the summer and you literally see me get darker. Like I got black by the end of the video. I was like black as hell, like burnt to a crisp. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that is true. You sweat a lot, but I prefer that over like freezing, like how we went outside today and it was freezing cold and I can't feel my arms and legs. Honestly, like me, this is a personal preference. I would prefer like being hot and taking cold showers, and being able to go to the beach and tan and just enjoy the beach over like snow and really cold weather.
Now you say that, but I know you. When we were sleeping together in Africa, and it was like 35 degrees at night, and we had like three fans on, and you're like, "It's so hot," and you can't cuddle, you can't do nothing when it's hot. You can't, even having sex in Africa is nasty. It's just
Well,
nasty.
we still did that. And it also like, come on, like if we were to like have a house in Africa and like, rent a house, we would probably rent somewhere like with AC or something like that. So it would depend on your accommodation. So like you can't do that like sleeping and having sex on that.
All right, but
Yes, it's really hot, but it's worth it because the scenery is like so goddamn beautiful.
no, I prefer cold weather. This is where me and my wife differ. Hopefully, it doesn't separate us. Hopefully, this difference in weather temperature preference doesn't cause our division. But I love the cold weather. Even though today we were outside and it was like -2 degrees outside, I was thinking the entire time, Simon, it's not that bad because I remember walking outside and just bursting out in sweat, just literally standing outside. That's how bad I sweat, and I really hate the hot weather. It makes me
It's
uncomfortable.
good, it's good for your body.
I listen. I like a sauna. I took a nice hot bath this morning. My wife walked into the bathroom, saw me in the bath, and like sweating to death in the bathtub, and she said, "Oh my god!" And I said, "Yeah, I'm cleansing." I said, "I was like, yo, I'm getting the toxins out." Like, you know what I mean? Like, sweating is okay, but not just every day. Not every day. No, not for me.
But you love the beach.
I do like the beach. I do like the beach. I enjoy water. I enjoy that. I just don't like hot weather. I'm sorry. I need all four seasons. I need all four seasons. That's my thing.
Well, that I mean, all 4 seasons. That's sort of Middle East.
That's the pro about the Middle East. Middle
Mhm.
East probably has the best overall weather in comparison because it's the middle ground between cold ass Europe and hot ass Africa.
Yeah, yeah.
But my con about living in Africa is like some of the infrastructure stuff. Like we were in Tanzania, electricity goes out crazy. You know what I mean? So if we were living in Africa, we would have to buy a generator. We would have to crank that thing up, spend money on gas, whatever. The internet was not always the strongest. Like you probably have to pay like top dollar, just to get internet. Like I think when we were in Zanzibar, like we were paying, a lot for just a little bit of data. So that's something to consider. Like the infrastructure stuff is not all the way there. The roads are crazy. When you're on the street driving, or if you're in a taxi, you're gonna go up and down, bumping and
You
stuff
don't
like
take
that.
taxis, baby. You take tuk-tuks.
Tuk-tuks, taxis, motorbikes, whatever, whatever. When you're riding on the street, the roads are crazy.
Yeah, that is true. Like internet could be like a downfall for Africa, but you're paying relatively smaller rents in Africa and you're spending less so you can, spend more on internet and probably get like the best one at your house. And if you're like not living somewhere too remote, then probably you will experience like less electricity outages. um,
Mhm.
or like you said, you could have a generator. Like we didn't experience any electricity outages in Dar es Salaam, or I don't think we had it in Mombasa, though we did have in Diani, which is like a bit more rural compared to
I
Mombasa.
think I know when we were in Mombasa, like at that place that had like the roaches in the sink, like that place that we were living in that apartment, the place where the girl stole like your €100 or something. You remember
Oh,
that?
yeah, that's Diani though. That's not like
That was not Diani. No, when we were in Mombasa and Bamburi on
Ban-
that road that was next to all the pubs and bars and stuff.
Hmm.
When we stayed at that first place,
Yeah.
the power went out one time for like a good few hours.
Yeah, yeah. No, I remember that. But still, that's not like it wasn't still like inside the city. It was kind of like ghetto-ish.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But there's that con of it. Um.
yeah,
So yeah, but I like the trans. Like I kind of enjoyed the transportation. Honestly, I like that sort of vibes. I like the tuk tuk. I love the little like buses. They're cheap and they're sort of fast. So I kind of like that. And I don't know, probably like if we were to live in Africa, I would probably get like a motorbike or something like that. Like, you know, or maybe a car, like a good old like secondhand car to get me around, because having a car would make things so much easier. Because when we were there, we walked everywhere, and that's why we were like always sweating and super hot because we were
yeah.
like in the sun, 40, 45 degrees.
It'd
So
be so funny. It'd be so funny to see you on a motorbike in like Kenya. It'd be like people be so confused.
I'm gonna pick up customers.
That would be the funniest thing, man. But no, definitely, if you have a motorbike or a motorcycle in Africa, like that's the ideal way to move around. You know,
Yeah,
especially. But the thing about Africa is that we didn't see it, but a lot of parts of Africa they have a rainy season. Like if it's winter there, that's not cold. It's just rains every single day. You get what I'm
yeah.
saying? So that might get a bit nasty. That
I'm
might get real nasty.
I think we kind of experienced that in Arusha a little bit because it was raining a lot some days, and the house that we were staying in, it was like the neighborhood didn't have the road, so if
Yeah,
you remember, it all got muddy and sort of like,
yeah,
yeah,
real gross.
sense. But it's just like 1 month or something, so like 11 months, you're like okay, it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, Africa is a special place, but you got to be tough to do it. This is the thing, man. It's like Africa is like a great place to live, but you got to be just like hard body, tough, just willing to accept whatever and just deal with that shit. You know what I mean? You
Yeah,
can't, it's not for the weak hearted because
yeah,
they're scamming in Africa, they robbing in Africa. And some parts can get a bit dicey and crazy. You know what I mean? Like it's not for the weak of heart. You just got to be really sharp, really tough, and
yeah.
you can make it in Africa.
Yeah, that's a con. Like, yeah, you do feel like maybe you can't trust some people, like the sellers and things like that, when it comes to the pricing and things like that. So if you do decide to move to Africa, you would have to like get yourself localized. You have to know a little bit of the language. You have to know like what are the prices for things that locals are paying. You have to like research basically in your area to not get scammed.
And learn the local language because even though they speak English, a lot of African nations speak English. South Africa, Botswana, Namibia, whatever, they got their own local language that's really the lingua franca in the streets. And
Yeah,
so, just like how Mauritius' official language is French, if you don't speak the French Creole, you're an outsider. You get what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's another thing, like language barrier in Africa. Like, there's only a few that really use English in their day to day. And that's like Nigeria, Ghana, and South Africa. And
yeah,
everybody else kind of just, you know, uses their own thing. Go ahead.
yeah. I mean, especially if you're living like a bit more touristic place like Diani and stuff like that. I feel like the smaller the place, the less English they're gonna speak. The rural the place, the less English they're gonna speak, and it would be very beneficial if you like learn some, at least like A1 level. I feel like you can communicate it. You can communicate, and probably will learn more if you do live there.
Right.
I think like one of the hardest things for me, I don't know, in Africa, I don't know if I would be able to find like friends, honestly, or like some sort of like, just going out, having a drink and things like that with my friends, because I didn't really like talk to any girl except that one girl who was working in the restaurant in Diani. If you remember, we ate fish there and we used to walk
Yeah.
like she was really cool. I liked her. Um, but yeah, because the reason for that is not because like I don't want to be friends with anybody there. Obviously, I do, but I just feel like I'm not approached fairly because I'm a foreigner and I'm white, or I look white, so I just feel like there's always that another when people approach me, so I can't trust people. I don't know. Maybe, I mean, that experience was mostly with men. And when I'm talking about friends, I would like female friends. So maybe it would be different if I actually like settled there and tried to like make friends for real, because I wasn't really trying to do that when I was traveling. But yeah, that's one of like my worries, that I would love to like, have a little community there and things like that, because that's important to me as a, I don't know, as a Middle Eastern girl. We do love that community, especially
No,
as I.
just yeah, no, just for you because you're a friendly person. You know what I mean? And you, when I met you, you have like your whole network of girlfriends who are like your backbone and stuff like that. You know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy because like that's the biggest the biggest con for me in Africa is that sort of mentality. You know, they see a white person or somebody who's not looking like what they imagine a Kenyan or a Tanzanian or African to look like, and they say, "Oh, visa," or "Oh, dollars," and that
Yeah.
sort of stuff. The crazy thing is, people would see us walking in Africa and think you're the one who's American, and I'm like your African boy toy, your Gambian fuck buddy. You get what I'm saying? Like, so it's crazy. Like that's the biggest con for me. Just that sort of, you know, that sort of view where they see foreigners and see white people and just see them as something else. And that's the hardest part for me to get over. I love, I can get over the burning trash. I can get over corruption in the streets. I can get over a lot of stuff because I'm used to like third world living. You get what I'm saying? But that's the biggest problem for me and what I saw in sub-Saharan Africa. Mauritius is a different story. Mauritius, this wasn't the problem, but like
Yeah.
other places, that was a big deal. But if there was a place in Africa that would not have that mentality, and possibly there is, because it's a big country, it's a big continent. I don't know. Maybe I would consider, giving like a different view. But I don't know, man. I don't know. Every day I go back and forth. What are you two drinking? Ripple from Stanford and Son. Craig Mack is hilarious. We're drinking cheap Hungarian wine. Cheap
Meg-
Hungarian wine. Shout out to Craig Mack. Yeah, but my thing about Africa, man, my thing about Africa is just that, how can I say? Uh, damn, it's just the mentality. It's just the mentality.
yeah.
That's all.
If Mauritius was in, mainland Africa, it would have been great. But again, if it was in mainland Africa, it wouldn't be the Mauritius that it is today. It would probably have the same mentality as like Kenya or Tanzania or something like that. And the only like con about Mauritius is that it's in the middle of nowhere. Like it's so hard to, transport from there, go to other places, and it's like expensive. So I feel like if you like want to live in Mauritius, you have to have like a lot of money just to spend on like air fares.
Right.
The country itself is not that expensive. You can like easily live there, but if you're not that rich, then you're just gonna go there and be stuck there and probably like won't be able to travel elsewhere unless you save up money for that.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's like, Mauritius is a small country, but if you remember when we stayed in like the middle of Mauritius and then we ate dinner with those Mauritian Muslims who were having like, I think iftar or something like that, because I think it was Ramadan or something or some holiday. And we were telling them, yeah, we went hiking in this mountain and we went to this place, Eureka, whatever, whatever. And they're like, you're doing stuff normal Mauritian people don't do. You get what
Yeah.
I'm saying? I'm pretty sure the people in Mauritius don't do half of like the cool stuff that's in their country because it's like normal. It's like how you live in New York and you never go to Central Park. You live
Yeah.
in Istanbul and you never go to like the famous places there. You get what I'm saying? You
Hmm.
get what I'm saying? And so I don't know, maybe we have a view of Mauritius because we went there and we really did it. Like we did it. You get what I'm saying? But once we're there, we might be like, Grand Bay again, La Pouce again. You know what I mean?
It's a bit small, and yeah, like but when you're like in Kenya and stuff like that, you could probably take like different planes and buses to other countries in Africa. You could probably see a lot. So that's like the pro of like East Africa. It is closer to like, it's somewhat like relatively in the middle. I don't know. It's really close. It's really far to like United States, things like that. But it's kind of close to Europe, and it's also kind of close to like Asia or Middle East.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I feel like you can like travel around, also like within Africa as well, obviously.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, those countries are so big. Like, getting from Dar es Salaam to like Arusha took like 8 hours in a bus. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like, there's so these are big ass places. Like, they might look small on a map, but I think Kenya and Tanzania combined are like the size of all of Europe. Like, that's how big it is. You get what I'm saying?
yeah,
So,
but I don't know if we were to like have a house in like Africa, like let's say Kenya, just as an example, and we settle down there, and maybe like if we have a car, we can like do a road trip, like drive 5 6 hours, stay there whatever village you're in, and then next
bike
day
trip.
more, and then 10 days later you're in Uganda or something. So
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. That would be cool. That would be the dream, just to like, drive all over Africa and stuff like that. But there's still so many problems with like visas and stuff. You know what I mean? Because like even Africans with African passports can't travel as freely without throughout Africa, right? And if we were to live in Africa, we would, eventually get like our residency or citizenship or whatever. And then still, even with a Ugandan passport, you can't just go in Egypt. You can't just go to Nigeria. You can't just go to South Africa. Like it's
yeah,
still
but
crazy. You get what I'm saying?
since you're passport privileged, I don't think you know what actual like hard visas are. I'm sorry, because like coming to Budapest, I had to like work on my visa for like 6 months or something like that. And I had to like spend a bunch of money. But when we were traveling, let's say from Tanzania to Kenya, I only did it like online, and I paid like $50 or something. So for me, it compared to that sort of trouble, like Africa is much better. And yeah, obviously, I'm sure there are some countries that I would need to apply and go to the like embassy and things like that. So yeah, but I feel like relatively, when you compare it to Europe, it's easier to get different visas and things like that, even though you still have to go through some sort of procedure.
2 year visa, getting a business here and getting the entrepreneur visa. And I'm going to talk to my lawyer about that. Oh, you said they can't hear me. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. I mean, I did hear you, but your
Yeah.
audio was a bit like lacking. But I think it's better now.
Okay.
Now your video is normal.
All right. So yeah, I'm on. I just All right, so hopefully you can hear me now. Anyway, I'm on my tourist visa right now. It's for 90 days for Americans on the first trip, and then on Tuesday I'm going to get my, permanent like residency for like 2 years, family reunification. Then hopefully I plan on opening a business here, starting like a language school here, and trying to just make some money, trying to make some euros, buddy, trying to make some euros. So speaking of that, let's get on Europe then. So we talked about the pros and cons of Africa, and I think we covered that. But let's talk about the pros and cons of Europe, living here. So like my pros for living in Europe are just generally it's very like America in the sense that people sort of mind their own business and they're not so stuck on people that are different than them. Now, a lot of that has to do with, when you're it's the opposite of being white abroad, right? As a white person, you go to Africa and people are like, oh, dollars, 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 love you, love you, love you. My black ass comes to Europe and people are just like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they don't care. But still in here it's like in Europe in general it's like just very cool, very modern. You have a lot of the amenities that you would have like for me like in my country and stuff like that. And then there's just also just a lot of different people from all over the world and cool architecture, big buildings. You don't see stuff like that as much as in Africa. And yeah, those are the cons. I mean, the pros that I see so far in like Europe. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I couldn't order Mexican food. I couldn't get any Mexican food in Africa. It's just like you eat what you eat.
Yeah.
Anyway, tell me.
In my head, I'm sort of like conflicted about that. Yes, like I do appreciate this accessibility in here in terms of like, I don't know, electricity, not having outages, having good Wi Fi all the time, and, finding sushi in the supermarket and things like that. I do appreciate all of that. And yes, it is easier to like find stuff that you need and want. But at the same time, it's also creates this like consumerism, and that's the thing that I don't like, or at least I try not to like, because I do feel like it's filling for something else that I lack or something like that. So that's what I was trying to say, like when I said people in Africa appreciate the simple life. It's because they don't need to like go on shopping sprees. They don't need to spend $500 during Christmas and things like that. They just like go out, they party, they drink, they have fun, they eat what they eat. They eat like fresh fruits, or they eat like chicken shawarma or something like that, and they're content with it. But when you're in places like Europe or like, the United States, you are sort of like lured in to spend more and more. And that sort of thing comes with the accessibility of like daily stuff, like the internet and Wi-Fi and modernity and everything. And I'm conflicted in that. I like the modern too, but I also like that simplicity too. So yeah, I don't know. But yeah, at least in that sort of diversity way, I guess, at least Hungary is good, you know even though like people might be racist or they might think something about you, they don't say it in your face because they respect you as a person, so they just like keep everything to themselves and they don't really bother with you.
Yeah, yeah. So like when it comes to like modernity, like the modern stuff and like consumerism, like I get feeling like, oh, you always have to like buy new shoes, buy new clothes and just always keep up with people and stuff like that. But people in Africa were doing that too a little bit. When we went to that club in Arusha, I forgot the name, Kipong,
Yeah.
like that's where we saw the rich Tanzanians and the rich Africans out there and they were dressed up like fly, fresh, sexy. You get what I'm saying? So like that culture still exists too in Africa. It's
Of
just
course. Of course
it's
it,
everywhere.
but not as prominent as here. And I feel like there it is. Yes, they do flex with like new stuff and new things, but you know what, probably half of them comes half of the price because they're like fake and things like that, which is cool. Like I don't have a problem with that, but they care about like what it looks like aesthetically rather than the actual price tag. And I feel like
Mm.
here it's reverse. Here, oh, you're just like, we came here and I'm like, oh, I want to go to opera, I want to go to this concert, I want to go to this stand up, and I want to see this museum and that museum and all of that. And everything is like this sort of like consume, consume, consume. And I don't know. Of course, like I understand you travel in Africa and you spend money in Africa too, like the safari and things like that.
All right.
I don't.
But the thing about Africa compared to Europe is that when you walk outside in Europe, generally you don't feel stressed. When I walked outside in Africa, I felt stressed. I felt worried, bro. Every day going outside in Africa was like some pressure on me, bro. Because number one, I'm walking with your beautiful ass, so I gotta fight off dudes trying to holler at you. But even when I'm not with you, even when I'm not with you, because I'm not gonna blame this on you or anything. Even when I'm not with you, I'm worried about somebody coming up to me trying to sell some shit. Somebody coming up me just trying to harass me. Just like bothering shit. You walk outside, people like buy this, brother, buy this, buy that, and shit like that. I don't like that. I don't like that panhandling shit. Low key. I'm just keeping it absolutely real with you. Like,
No, fine. Yeah, I don't like that either, and I've experienced that too. Like I hated going to the freaking grocery store because even though it was like 3 minutes away, I get I have 20 people saying hello to me on the way to the grocery store, and it's like stressful to me because I'm like I don't want to be rude. I want to say hello back, but after the fifth guy, I'm fucking tired now. So
yeah,
you know, I don't want to. I know what they're trying to do. Maybe they're trying to holla, or maybe they're trying to sell something or something like that. And it's like always in my face and in my like personal space. So I
yeah,
stress too, but I feel like if you live there long enough, like if you settle down there, maybe after like 4 or 6 months or something like that, you would probably be picking up some of the language
yeah, yeah, yeah.
had to. And then also if you live in like the bigger cities, that it would be less of a problem too as well, and you would know how to deal with that sort of thing, I guess. That's
Yeah, no, absolutely. If you live there sometime, you're gonna get accustomed, accultured, and just blend in a bit more. That's real. That's real. But it's like, being here in Europe, you don't feel that. When you go out to the store, nothing happens. You're there, you're back. It's
yeah.
boring. You get what I'm saying? You go to Africa, it's an adventure. Just
I know.
going to the store. And it's too much adventure. There is such a thing as too much adventure. You get what I'm saying?
I kind of like it. Maybe it's because I'm watching like all the videos and editing them, but I kind of like that adventure because low key in Turkey is kind of like that too. So
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna say this: like Africa's a big place, so even though we found, one place or two places that we didn't like, that doesn't mean we don't like Africa. I don't want people walking away from this stream thinking, "Oh, you guys don't know Africa and stuff like that." It's a big country. I mean, big continent. Many 54 different countries, big places. You get what I'm saying? Jump into the comments. Craig Mack says, "Acti, I have a question. Why in Turkey people complain about the economy? However, they have bread to buy knockoff clothing and items, along with cosmetic surgeries." Very interesting comment right there. Very interesting. What do
um
you think about that?
I mean, we've had those things for a long time. We've had like all of the stuff that you listed, but the thing is now they're like 5 times the price that they were 5 years ago. Like it's yeah, we still have bread to buy, but now we can buy only like one bread per family when we
By
used.
bread, he means money, by the way. He means people have money to buy, knockoff clothing and and fake titties.
Well, knockoff clothing is not expensive since it's a knockoff, but
It should be cheap, right?
yeah, it should be cheap, but even then, like everything, all of the prices went like not triple, not 4 times. It's like 5 times the price now. And cosmetic surgery, if you look at Turkish people, the normal like average income people don't have cosmetic surgeries. It's you.
Yeah, like when you go to Turkey, like Turkey, I got the hot Turkish girl. The rest of the Turkish girls, in my opinion, they're not good lookers. I'm keeping it real. They're like fives and sixes walking around. I'm keeping it real with you.
Okay.
It's not a lot of BBLs, not a lot of Pamela Andersons.
Yeah, like normal Turkish people don't really get like BBLs and stuff like that. I knew some people who get like lip injections, which is like the cheapest cosmetic surgery that you can get, probably.
It's the Russians and the Ukrainians coming
Yeah,
down.
either Russians, Ukrainians, British people, or like Arabs who bring like all of their 7 wives and get all of them else. So it's not the Turkish people who are getting the surgeries. And like for example, if you go to really big malls in Turkey, you would see like those like either Russians or Arab sheikhs like walking around buying like the whole Zara because it's like super like it's more affordable to them because of the price difference and things like that. So yeah, like Turkish people. have less and less power to buy stuff.
Let me ask you about money because Craig Mack said another comment. However, they have money. I lived in Antalya for 2.5 months, in Istanbul and Kadıköy 2 months. So Kadıköy is
Medicare.
a rich. Kadıköy is a. It's so weird that the OY makes a sound. That's weird.
It's not OY, it's the O with the dots, which is the
That's so strange. Either way, Kadıköy. Either way, that's those are rich places. Those are rich. Let me ask you this, actor.
Mhm.
Can you hear me? Just want to make sure. Like when I was in Turkey, I was seeing a lot of riches around. Like there are like big ass nice houses, penthouse apartments, people driving Beamers and Mercedes all through the streets and stuff like that. Like the economy has been going like down. The lira is going down, but still we see a lot of luxury in Turkey. So can you explain like the money part? Like what's happening?
I think like that sort of stuff, like obviously, even though like the economy has gone bad. For example, my family was like a low income, like not low income, middle income family, and we're still middle income family, but we're before we could like save up for later, maybe save up to buy a house, a car, or something like that. Now it's just getting harder and harder to do those type of savings, and I feel like now because Turkish people love that. We buy like gold and currency, dollars and euros, and we put it in a bank and we let that like sit for 10 years and 20 years, and then we buy stuff with them later because we always know that Turkish economy is going to go to shit. So now people are using that saving, I feel like, to send their kids to universities, maybe to buy a new car, things like that. But I don't know what's going to happen when stuff hits the fan and we're going to have like nothing. We spent our savings. And yes, there are still some people who are like pretty earning pretty good because they are like, I don't know, they own houses and the rents are going up higher. So, their income is getting higher and things like that. So, those type of jobs, they do have like the same, I guess, living conditions or economy conditions now still. But yeah, that's
Well, let
why
me.
you can still see like a lot of luxury in Turkey. People are, I feel like, spending from their pockets.
All right, let me ask you. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Craig Mack said I'm rolling up the Reggie. Now I'm just rolling up some tobacco. Just rolling up tobacco. Well, let me ask you this. Like, do you feel pressure to be financially successful outside of Turkey to take care of your family in Turkey because of the economy? Or just because you want to give back? Because like, do you want to give back to like your mom and your brother or whoever because they helped you, or just because you're like you want to be successful because you know the lira is going to be like 100 to 1 US dollar in the future? Like, what's really going on?
I mean, the thing is, it's not about like lira being like 100 lira being equivalent to when that stuff happens. Also, the price of the markets go up because guess what? Turkey like imports a lot of stuff from outside, and when that's why when the dollar goes up, when the euro goes up, all of our stuff goes up because yeah. Now we have to pay. Now the factories and companies have to pay more, and so we pay more. But no, the reason that I would want to support my family is because I would just want to give them back because yeah, like my mom is like, stable now, and like for my brother, I know that her dad makes tourism, like is in the tourism business, so that will always be, for example, at least for now, that will always still be a business that brings good money because it's about currency. Tourists spend dollars and euros. So for now, like I feel like they are safe economically, but yeah, I don't know. I just feel like maybe it's that, the when all of this stuff sort started to happen, poor got poor got poorer and rich got richer a little bit in Turkey.
Yeah. But let me say this. Let me say this. this is like one of the pros of living in Europe, in my opinion, is the stability of it all. Because like while we were living in Africa, like easily like a coup could have popped off, or civil war, or revolution, or some shit like that. That's a real fear because we saw the coups happen this year. That could have easily been Kenya or Tanzania. And when we were in Turkey, I literally saw Turkey inflation go up double. Like when I made it there in October 2021, whatever 2022, I don't know. Like that same time next year, things had doubled in price, doubled in my own eyes. I saw that. I never saw that happen before, ever. Even in Tunisia. And Tunisia has a crazy ass economy. You get what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
the good thing about Europe is generally the stability, in that it's similar that, prices aren't going up very crazy, and most of the governments are generally cool, aside from the war in Ukraine and Russia and that sort of shit. Generally it's like stable, and
yeah,
stability is something that you can't buy. Stability is something that most of the world doesn't have, and very few countries actually have good stable economies, governments, and that's something that I think is important too. What do you think?
it is. No, it is definitely like Turkey had a very like large middle income population like in every country, you know. And when all this inflation started to happening, those families who are middle income, they either like went down because they couldn't keep up with the inflation, or they went up because I don't know, made a good investment in something, or they bought a house like 2 3 years ago and they sold that, so now they're like doing a bit better. But there's always that chance that they could still like go down. And yeah, this sort of middle class family is sort of vanishing because everything costs too much. And yeah, of course we still have middle income families like mine, but yeah, it's getting harder and harder. And like I would love to, the stuff that I did when I was in high school and university for like very little money, like drinking around and things like that. I would love for my brother to have the same experience. Like not I'm not encouraging him to like drink alcohol or anything, but just being able to go on little holidays with your friends and things like that. And now those sort of things are very expensive. So, for
Mm,
example, I would love to send him money and just say, like, okay, yeah, go to Bodrum with your friends this summer or something like that.
yeah.
Because now those things are sort of like a privilege.
Yeah. By the way, I just want to say I really like YouTube's new, comment section. How you
Yeah.
don't have to click for it. Shout out to YouTube for doing that. By the way, guys, YouTube is trying to like get me off the platform. Like I'm getting sued by Tweenix. I'm not getting sued, but they like filed like a defamation lawsuit. So now I'm banned in Spain. My Tweenix video is banned in Spain, guys. I talk too much shit. I keep it too real, and now they trying to block your boy. So y'all need to support this channel because the whole world's coming against me. I got Serbians that hate me, Tanzanians that hate me, the Albanians hate me. Now I got Spain on my ass, and I ain't even been there. I didn't even do a black suit yet. They on my ass. You get what I'm saying? Craig Mack said I need to watch my titles, but I just type what I want to type because you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to appeal to everybody. I'm just trying to keep it real. You get what I'm saying? And I know maybe one day I might be on like a sketch of when keeping it real goes wrong. I might be on one of those. But I don't care. What I'm trying to do is just keep it real and just always just speak my mind. But either way, I want to ask you about what Craig Mack is saying. Craig Mack said, from what I've noticed, the majority of the people I spoke with hated your president except the business owners. However, the people were hurting. And then he said, Turkey is like Mexico. You have the rich and poor and no in between. You want to jump on that?
Yeah, like I said, like the business owners in Turkey are more higher income, and since the prices are going up, their products are going up. Their prices are going up, so they're sort of making more money, and that's why like they wouldn't really care that much about what government is doing, which inflects the inflation and that sort of like instability in the economy. So yeah, they're like they don't have a reason to hate the government unless they love their country or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, the other people are just sort of like trying to catch up with the economy. And yeah, I do see.
But let me ask you why do the business owners like Erdogan particularly? Does he do something that helps business owners specifically? Like does he lower taxes? Does he I don't know what?
There's nothing that goes on that would benefit them a lot through like legal stuff, but there is a lot of corruption. And if you're a business owner and you're supporting like the right side, you're gonna get a lot of like good um
Contracts.
lot of good connections, yeah. Because
Yeah.
they like you don't understand. It's like it starts with Erdogan, but it goes down to like very, very, very like stretched out minimal parts of Turkey where if your principal is right winged, you could get your kid there to the school if you're right winged or something like that. So there's like a lot of different types of corruption that happens, and yeah, like you just get contacts and you get like, you know, discounts here and free stuff there, and then you get like this paper that allows you to do something
It's
that
like
no.
being in the club. If you're a part of the right wing, you're in the club and you get certain benefits.
Yeah, 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 you get benefits, and I think that's why um
Mm.
yeah,
Interesting,
like
interesting. Because usually, like usually in least in my country, at least in a lot of other countries, the right wing support the business owners because they want to lower taxes and they want all the money that the business owners will donate to them. But you're
yeah,
saying in Turkey, it's like sort of the opposite. They don't want donations from the business owners. They just want their loyalty and their votes. You get what I'm
yeah.
saying?
I mean, of course, the right wing also gets benefits, obviously, but yeah, it's like this is like a funny story. When I was like staying with my grandmother for a month or so, I was like, at the time she was living in Istanbul, and she kept on getting these messages from like the AKP and things like, "Oh, like we love you, our new member," and da da da. And I'm like, "Grandma, like, why are you a member of the AKP, like seniors party or something like that?" And she said that like they give like free packages of food and things like that. Like,
Damn.
they support their members.
That's an interesting thing because that's so foreign to like me as an American because the parties just sort of get old people to vote for them by what they say they'll do. But in Turkey, it's like they actually do shit to buy votes. And that's an interesting thing because like I feel like that's actually kind of good. Maybe that leads to corruption, but I wish like the Democrats gave, I don't know, if they like black people that much to vote for them, then give us like I don't know free coupons to Amazon or something like that, or like I don't know, give us free shit. If the Republicans like crazy redneck rural motherfuckers to vote for them, buy them free bullets for their
Yeah,
AK-47s and
A-
AR-15s.
AKP did that a lot. Like at one time, I think this was like not this election, but the one before that, they were handing out free rice, like big bags of rice and coal during winter time, and they were like saying, "What for AKP?" It's like prom, It's like
Mm,
the prom presidency in like
yeah,
America. They
that's
give different stuff.
That's crazy. We used to have that in America, like back in the early 20th century. They would literally pay people. Like, if you were a part of like the Democrats or the Republicans, they would send you money to go vote. Like, they would pay people to vote until that was illegal and stuff like that. But yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
I mean,
And go
it's
ahead.
they started it though, because I don't know any other party that's popular for giving out free stuff.
Mm. You mean like the left doesn't do that? So only the right in Turkey does that.
Not really, or at least they didn't. They never did it as big as the right side, so they never like became that
Mm.
news for that.
Mm, mm. And Craig Mack just jumped in and said, February 5th, I landed at 11 p.m. in Antalya. Next morning, earthquake. The
Mm.
business owner got donations from people like tents. He kept the tents and we're selling them to the survivors from the earthquake. And he was a big Erdogan supporter, very greedy for the bread. What do you think about that?
Yeah, yeah, that's all. These sorts of crazy stuff happened during like the earthquake time. There were like business owners who supported building of those crooked buildings that collapsed during the earthquake. They were getting donations and selling it to like the poor people who lost their houses and all of their belongings, basically, where it should have been free because now these people don't have like their money and wallets and stuff like that. It was
Mm,
crazy. Yeah, like for example, that time and still now, like Istanbul is with the leftist party. the mayor of Istanbul is leftist party, so he sent like a lot of buses, like big Istanbul city buses to, those earthquake areas with like different stuff in them, like tents and all sorts of things. And basically they put like different stickers of AKP and things like that. Like they put I don't know, pan cards, like different stuff on them saying that, oh, AKP sent this, but it was actually like another party sending it. So yeah, like I said, it's like a big whole spider web, and they can, do a lot of corruption and come out on top somehow.
Mm,
Then obviously the people who are in the earthquake zone, they see, oh, look at AKP sending us buses, and then they vote for them.
mm. Wow. Craig Mack says he was rich. He owned 6 buildings in Antalya. Each building was 8 stories high. I couldn't comprehend it. Yeah,
Yeah,
when the earthquake happened, I can't. That was this year, right? Or
yeah,
last year? That
yeah,
that was this year.
yeah.
Damn, so many tragedies happened this year. Like this
Mhm.
year has been like a very tragic year because I forgot all about that because Gaza, Israel sort of took over my mind, but
And yeah,
Ukraine is still happening. Mass shootings in America are still happening, and then of course the earthquake in Turkey happened, and an earthquake in Morocco that killed like
yeah,
200 people happened too.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's been a very tragic year for like human life. So, oh man, it's crazy that all this happened this year. But we're on the Middle East. We're about to jump into like the pros and cons of living in the Middle East. But I'll just say, let's get back to Europe real quick. So,
Okay.
like, my con for living in Europe is like all of the different languages. There's too many languages in Europe. Like, they need to pick at least 4 or 5. They need to pick because there's like what 25 different countries in Europe, and each of them, most of them have like their own language. Like we go 10 hours north, we're in Slovenia or the Czech Republic, totally different language. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Then we drive north, Lithuania, Estonia, Poland. You get what I'm saying? Like too many languages. They need to pick like French, German, English, Spanish, and then be done. Like they need to cut all this shit out. but then with the languages, the good thing is about Europe though is that generally English is pretty widespread. So like though not everybody in Europe speaks English, a whole lot of them do. Like you can get by a lot of places with English in a lot of European major cities: Budapest, Belgrade, Rome, Madrid, Paris, London, of course,
Yeah,
Berlin, a lot of Germany. You get what I'm saying? So I don't know. What do you think about that?
yeah. No, that's definitely true. Like, unless you're trying to work at an like local establishment, for example, like unless I'm trying to work at a Hungarian school or something, that doesn't that is not like an international or American school. I don't really have to learn the language. I feel like if we were to live here, yes, eventually we would learn a little bit of Hungarian. But like even if people don't like have a conversation with you in English, they understand when you say I'm going to pay with card or I want a bag with this or things like that. They understand. And so yeah, it's easier to get around with English, and also most things are automated, so even if you don't know like even if you don't know even English, for example at the supermarket you can just go with the fast cashier and don't even have to speak to anybody, basically.
Exactly. Exactly.
Easy to get around in that.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing is when we compare it to like Africa, a lot of places didn't take card. Like the only places that took card in Africa were like the major supermarkets. And then, some countries in Africa, even if they were like colonized by the British and stuff like that, like their English is not that great. Like Tanzania,
Yeah,
like maybe 20% of people spoke English in Tanzania. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
shout out to Ozzy. He jumped into the chat. He said, "Good evening, Simon and AKDI in chat." Shout out to Ozzy. Craig Mack said, "I've lived in Czech Republic off and on for over 10 years. Share us your experiences about being black in the Czech Republic, Craig Mack, and what that was like." You get what I'm saying? And Craig Mack says, "I'm in Belgrade now. Language is kind of similar to Czech. Interesting. I've never understood who are the Slavic people or not. I remember one time asking, like, my guy Bratislav. You remember Bratislav?
yeah.
I asked him, who are the Slavs? And he said, well, the Ukrainians, the Russians, all the Yugoslav people, so from Slovenia to Serbia. And
Hmm.
then I asked about Slovenia, I mean, Czech Republic, Slovakia. That's what it is, Slovakia and Poland. And he said, Yeah, there's Slavs too. I'm like, y'all just making shit up now. Y'all just making up shit. Yeah, there's Slavs. Like what?
I don't. I feel like okay, Aryan Slavs.
No, no, because they're your people. They're Uralic people.
Yeah, because I feel like you know how like in the Balkans every language sounds like Serbian language or Yugoslavian, whatever it is. I
Yeah.
feel like after you get out of that language, spots, you're not a Slav anymore. So those languages are like, Belgrade, like Serbia, and then Bosnia, Montenegro, Albania is sort of similar
No,
to,
no, no. About Albania is something. Don't do that. Don't do that. They're gonna be mad at you. They already don't like you.
but Albanian sounds sort of similar,
You
no?
could say no, but it's a language family that's not related to any European language. Like their language is,
Fine, Albanians are aliens. Okay.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, like I feel like that language family, also like Montenegro,
yeah.
language family belongs to like the Slavic people. And after you get out of that language family, if the language doesn't sound like that anymore, then those are not Slavs.
It's also about the Cyrillic too,
Yeah.
because like the Cyrillic alphabet is popular with the Slavs, but the Bulgarians speak uh, not a Slavic language, but they write in Cyrillic. You get what I'm saying?
Think Bulgaria is Slavic too? I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I don't. I've never heard a
I feel
Serbian
like
say, "Oh, the Bulgarians are our Slavic brothers."
I feel like Bulgaria and like Romania are more like Greek y
No,
sort of
The
based.
Romanians speak a Latin-based language, so Romanian is similar to like Italian and Spanish and Portuguese, which
Yeah.
is strange because they're so far away. But yeah, but the big Slavs are the Russians, Ukrainians, and the Yugoslavs. You get what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
So Ozzy said Bulgarian is Eastern South Slavic language. Ozzy always coming with the facts. Shout out to Ozzy. But from my experience, and maybe Craig Mack can back this up, but from my experience talking to the Slavs in Serbia, I've never heard anybody say Bulgaria or like our Slavic brothers too, because they're big on that. They say our Slavic brothers, like, and that's the Yugoslav and Russia and Ukraine. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Craig Mack says, well, in Czech, they called immigration on me thinking I was Syrian immigrant. Also, they stopped me on the road in the middle of my run questioning me. Damn, that's racism, man. That's crazy. Bulgarian and Macedonian very closely related. See, that's the thing. They're tied to the Macedonians, but the Macedonians speak like a weird language.
Yeah. And also Macedonians do have that sort of like more Middle Eastern vibe if you compare it to like Serbia cuz they're
Exactly.
so yeah. Like
Well,
I think
The Muslims in Macedonia are mostly Albanians because there's a lot
yeah,
of Albanians.
yeah, but they do have that sort of vibe even though like if the majority is not Muslim.
Either way, we're not caught up in that shit.
And,
That's ghetto Europe. We're not talking about ghetto Europe right now. We're talking about Europe, Europe. We're talking about pinky up wine glass Europe, not hand grenade Europe, like not war criminal Europe. We're not talking about, we're not talking about that.
there's a war criminal Europe.
Yeah, your taxi driver's a war criminal Europe. We're not talking about that. Anyway, so overall, I hate to say this. I hate to say this, but like Ripple cheer. Ripple is like a cheap wine, man. This is
Uh,
crazy.
yep.
But what was I gonna say? Overall, my thing is, and this it pains me to say this, it kills me to say this, but the overall living in Europe beats Africa. Avery Adams is back. Where has
Woo!
Avery Adams been? Shout out to Avery Adams.
Avery.
I thought maybe like you were mad because I accidentally deleted your comments. But shout out to Avery Adams. Everybody give a hand clap to Avery and wherever he's been, man. We missed you, man. But what was I gonna say? I was saying that it kills me to say this. It kills me to say this, but overall living in Europe is better than Africa for me. And I want to be in a place that's full of black people that have pride and dignity and like have their shit together. And yeah, maybe they make money from tourism from white people that come from Europe and spend $1,000 to go on safari, but they don't chase white people down. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I don't want to be in a country where they're selling bleaching cream to black ass people and whitening soap to black ass people. And when you turn on the TV, all the models are like light skinned East Africans and stuff like that. Like that shit kills me. You get what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
like that sort of stuff is like the sort of white supremacy I'm trying to run from. And my experience in Africa is, has been that. I know there's more to see in Africa. Maybe there's a place that's not like that, but that's my thing. And the thing about being in Europe is that I'm comfortable being a black man in a white ass space and knowing where I stand and knowing that I know that anti black racism is here. I can confront it. I know how to navigate in it and I know how to be around that energy. But I can't. I would go crazy being around people who are black as me, but then talking about I want a white woman. You know what I mean? I would go crazy. Craig Mack says buck dancing, shoes shining, biscuit eating. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead. Go ahead, acting.
Are you asking me to make a decision?
Yeah, on Africa, living in Africa versus Europe, and your
I
opinion is just real,
can't,
just whatever you want to say.
I can't make a decision because it's so hard because I really like the vibes in Africa, but there are those cons that are really harsh to get over or get used to. But at the same time, like I still have faith in Africa because we haven't been to majority of the countries in Africa. So I do believe that there's that place where, it wouldn't be as bad as like Tanzania or Kenya. Like the reaction to whiteness wouldn't be that bad, and it would still be affordable, and it would still be pretty as hell. And it's just that you have to understand that like I grew up in a society where going to Europe was the highest that you can get. Like if you're in Europe, then you're living your life. That's like you can't go any higher than that. And that's what like everyone around my age is trying to do. Everyone adores Europe. They all want to go there.
But I
So
think a lot of that has to do with like the culture right now in Turkey. Like young people feel like they can't be their true selves. Like if you're gay in Turkey, if you are not really Muslim like that in Turkey, if you have problems with the government in Turkey, like it's kind of dangerous for you. So that maybe that's why they're looking at Europe like that. Am I right or am I wrong or am I tripping?
there
Or is it
no
just the money?
there are a lot of effects. Like there's the money aspect, there's that aspect of freedom that you said. There's the aspect of white supremacy that we think that like the education in Europe and, the humanity in Europe is the best or something like that. We also have those dreams like, oh, if we go to Europe, we don't think we're going to get discriminated because we look white. But sometimes that is the case. Turks, especially the ones who are darker skinned, do get discriminated. Um, but yeah, there are different aspects to it. But I don't know. I just feel closer to Africa. Maybe it's because like I really do value community and I do like the warmness of the people there, even though they're in your face and in your personal space and all of that. I do find a certain comfort in that because, it's been 3 months since we've been here, and I didn't met any Hungarians. Like everyone I've met are outside of Hungary because I'm studying an international like program. So everyone is like from, different countries, but not Hungary. And it's just so weird to me to have that sort of experience. And I do feel that coldness, and I don't really like it, to be honest.
Mm,
It's
mm.
fine. I'm not like depressed or anything, but I do like to like go out and see that sort of community feeling, and I do like that. There are a lot of cons when it comes to Africa, and especially like, you know, uh, when you're white and people think like when they see you, they see dollar signs, even though like I'm from Turkey
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like that. Um, but I do think that's something that you can for what?
So no, but I think he's trying to say like when you go to Africa, like everybody's on you. Everybody's like, "Oh, white woman, she's so beautiful, she's so pretty," and stuff like that.
Yeah, but that's annoying as hell because I can't walk outside for 5 minutes alone. And then you have people coming to you. Exactly, but it's like unwanted attention. No, but yeah, I agree. Like it was good for a week, but then after a week, you sort of like feel suffocated and you're like, you don't really want to go outside.
Yeah, it's like, it's like, damn, it's like if you're like living if it's like if you're a black man living in like one of the like whitest countries in Europe, right? And like you go out to the club in Estonia or Lithuania and you're like the only black man in all of Riga. And like every girl comes up to you saying, "I want BBC. Give me BBC. I know you got BBC," or something like that. After you smash about four or five of them, you might be like, "Damn, girl, I have a heart. I have a heart too. I have emotions. Like you don't want to get to know me. You just want BBC."
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Uh,
I may it could be that yes, there's that unconscious like search for validation. Like I'm not scrapping what Craig Mack is saying, but I think that went away when I saw like little kids who were 5 years old that said "dollar dollar" to me, and I felt
that
like
that should have went away when you married me, motherfucker. What you talking
no.
about? You don't need no validation from no other man.
Of course, I'm saying like I don't feel any want for validation, but I'm just saying, like, even if that was the case, that just goes away fast because you see everyone from 5 year olds to 50-year old, you know, giving you that sort of like weird attention. So, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so like that's the thing about Africa, man. It's like a weird attention. Like and you only know when you go there. And like even as a black American, because I got my tattoos and I wear my clothes a certain way and I'm not starving and you can't see my ribs like the average African. So people know that I'm well fed, well bred, and they know that okay, this nigga ain't one of us. This is real. If you go to Africa as a black American, you're gonna stick out, even if you black as hell. They're gonna know. They're gonna smell it on you. They're gonna hear it on you before you even open your mouth. You keep it. I'm keeping it absolutely real, and you can see it in the videos that we're dropping on Backpack Bandits. Just watch me walking around Kenya, Tanzania, whatever, and I'm sticking out. I'm sticking out, and I'm sure AKDI even notices it too. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, man, listen. The thing is, Africa just has a lot of mental stuff to get over before I can say it's a comfortable place for me. I'm glad that you enjoyed it, and I'm glad that you like Africa because it has like a quality of life and a certain lifestyle vibe and speed that you feel and rock with. But it's just not for me right now.
Yeah, no. The thing is, like I said, I probably wouldn't want to move to like Tanzania or Kenya right now, but I do still hope that there's that place where that sort of attitude is not at least that present. You know what I mean? Or
Got
not
you.
at all. So I'm hopeful for that place, whatever that country is. I would love to live there with all the other pros because that's the biggest con of Africa that we see
Mm,
so far. That's
yeah.
but yeah, like if you were to ask me, would you rather live in Hungary or Tanzania? Obviously, I'm gonna pick Hungary because it's much more like comfortable when it comes to that sort of attention thing that we were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, you saw me in Kenya. I was getting into fights. I was squabbling with people. I was like turned up in Kenya. Like I was, and
Yeah,
here in Hungary, I've been generally chill. Like this has been one of the most chill, happiest moments of my life. You get what I'm saying? And
yeah,
all we have is a short time in life, so we have to find places that make us happy. But real quick, let's talk about the Middle East real quick. So you lived in Turkey, most of your life, and I lived in Tunisia and in Turkey with you, and those are like Muslim Middle East places. And I think the pluses of living in the Middle East are it's like uh, a, a cheaper quality, a cheaper lifestyle that you're funding, because these places aren't usually that expensive. There are some Middle East countries that are expensive, like Jordan, Dubai, Saudi Arabia. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
a lot of places are generally cheap. On top of that, they have wonderful nature and good beaches. A lot of them have like that Mediterranean weather, and a lot of the year is sunshine and no rain and stuff like that. The negatives, though, of living there are that the people can be closed-minded as hell in those places. So if you're living in Tunisia or Turkey and stuff like that, and you're not inside the box, or certain things, or you're dressing a certain way, you're going to attract some attention that bothers you. You get what I'm saying? And yeah, religion is like a big part of the society. And if you don't want to live in a place that religion plays a role in almost everything, it's not the place for you. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Africa or Albania? That's a funny thing. That's a funny question, Avery Adams. Damn, that's actually hard for
That's
me to say.
true, because you know what I'm gonna pick.
I'm picking Africa because I can deal with buck dancing, but I can't deal with being called nigga. If I stayed in Albania long enough, I would have fought and died because too much racial slurs. It was racial
Been more
slurs every
like
day in Albania. Go
or
ahead.
or Albania.
Huh?
It should have been like hell or Albania. You rather go to?
Then it would be Albania. That's crazy.
Wow.
But yeah, that's my opinion about the Middle East. Like, it's cheap, great weather, great food, by the way. Like most of the Middle Eastern countries have fantastic food. But it's a lot of corruption going down too, like what you said earlier about Turkey. And also, sometimes the closed mindedness of the people. But that's what I was saying.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of Middle East, I only have experience like from my own country because I've never been to Tunis or Morocco or and other cities. But I would say yeah, like we talked about it. Like the weather is a con because usually they have like 4 seasons or at least like good like
Yeah, I
I
think
don't
you mean a pro. It's a pro.
a pro, yeah, sorry. Pro is the weather. Like at least in Turkey, we have 4 seasons, and you can go like, skiing and experience the cold winter, but you can go down to the seaside at the same time, and have that warm, sunny sort of like life. Um, and yes, the food is really good, and people, if you like get accustomed to the culture and you know a little bit of the language, people are nice and they do like they are curious about different like types of people, different races and ethnicities. But the problem with, like, at least in my country, the problem with people is that we have so many stereotypes about so many different people. We can't get past over them, and we also think that they are just like jokes or something. Realize that actually like it's hurtful and it's like sort of effed up.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Like we have stereotypes about the Balkan people, Arabs, the black people, and all
Asian people, whatever.
people. Yeah, like there's so much stereotypes, and
In
we think,
in Turkey, they do stuff like this, right? When they talk about
yeah,
Chinese people, they
yeah.
do that, right? Yeah, this shit's crazy.
So yeah, it's very homogenous, and we tend to like stereotype outsiders, and that's the problem. But there are those people who actually like see past those stereotypes, and they are generally nice. um it is affordable, I guess. Like I don't know if it's more affordable than Africa or maybe around the same range.
A little bit more expensive, but not Europe levels. The
Yeah,
big con of Europe is that it's the most expensive place out of these three.
yeah. I mean, yeah. And if you're earning like other currencies like euros and dollars, you don't have to worry about instability of the economy because it's not going to affect you because it moves according to those currencies. So, but if you're earning Turkish lira, it's going to affect you. So, yeah, that's I don't know how that is, if it's a pro or a con. I guess like it's more of a con, but if you're an expat, it doesn't really affect you. So I don't know. Yeah, I guess like for me, one of the biggest cons is like that it lacks diversity. It's very homogenous.
Yeah, I mean it's all Muslim, and a lot of the Middle East is all one religion. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Mosques everywhere, Allahu Akbar, all day, all night. You know what I mean? And if you're into that, you're gonna like that. But if you're not, that's gonna be a bit much. And yeah, a lot of the people just look the same. And if they don't look the same, they have an idea about what the type of people from our country are, and
yeah,
that's hard to get over for a lot of them. You get what I'm saying?
yeah. Like if you don't look like the regular Turkish person, then you're people are gonna assume that you're a tourist unless you speak like very like
Good
fluent Turkish.
Turkish. And even then, they're gonna say, "Where are you from?"
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And yeah, Turkish people are very like nationalistic, and I would say like the same for generally in Middle Eastern. I feel like Middle Eastern people are nationalistic in a way that they feel sort of inferior to Europe,
I
but they
want
also like, they're like, oh, we're this and that, and
I I can say this at least for Tunisian people. Tunisian people don't give a fuck about their country. They don't give a fuck. They're like, yo, this shit sucks. They'll say it open. This shit
when
sucks.
we're in Turkey, we do the same, but when outside of Turkey, we don't do the same.
Yeah, but I think Turkey has a lot to be proud of because y'all got a big dick history. But a lot of Middle Eastern countries don't have big dick history. Like their countries were carved up by Europeans who said, "All right, this is now Jordan, this is Iraq, that's Algeria." Like, you get what I'm saying? Y'all sort of carved your own lane. Y'all fought for your shit.
Yeah, yeah.
A
I mean,
lot.
it was still like a empire, and empires are never good.
That's true. Empires are never good. Anyway, Ozzy said, "What about a city in like Johannesburg or Nairobi?" See, this is the thing. I didn't get the chance to go to Nairobi. We were very, very close to going to Nairobi, but we cut our Kenyan trip short. But I would love to go to Nairobi. I heard like it's a big, major metropolis. When I spoke with my guy Tim, from his YouTube channel, you get what I'm saying? Tim told me that. Nairobi is like a major, middle income country, like a middle income city. It's like going to, you like, not Paris. It's not
Maybe
like going to Paris,
maybe
huh?
Istanbul or something.
Yeah, it's something like a Istanbul. You get what I'm saying? Like a generally modern city, maybe a bit unorganized and chaotic, but you have very high end places, middle income places, low income places. And also, people are there on business because it's the capital and also the major economic hub. So, like, Nairobi might be a bit more, like my type of speed. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Plus, in Africa, if you know African geography, places like Nairobi and Arusha are like at a higher elevation. So those places actually get cold. When we were in Arusha at night, it got cold as hell. You might think I was talking earlier about Africa having hot weather, but that's on the coast because the coast is on the lowland. But
yeah,
if you're in the highlands like Ethiopia, some parts of Kenya, and some parts of Tanzania, it gets so cold at night. You get what I'm saying?
yeah.
So,
But then those places don't have the beach. They don't have the seaside.
but it's not that far away. And there's a train from Nairobi to Mombasa, and also a plane for like $80. You get what I'm saying?
I don't know. Uh,
So you're
I
not
guess,
living next to the beach, but you can go there if it's really,
I guess I don't know. Like I just because like you said, because Africa is so hot, and I'm sure like maybe Nairobi is not that hot, but I'm pretty sure it's really hot still. It's
it,
probably maybe similar to Istanbul during summer, which is like very sticky and icky and just like, sweaty,
right.
uh, and possibly even hotter. So that's why like if I'm going to live in a tropical place, I have to be near the beach so I can like go and cool off. I can't just live in a hot city where I can't just like drive 10 minutes to the beach.
I
Yeah.
got you. I got you. All
So
right.
that's the compromise that I'm willing to make.
Yeah. And Johannesburg is definitely a place I want to visit. The only thing I don't like about Johannesburg is that I've heard so much about the violence, and it's such a dangerous city. Like, when we were in Arusha, Tanzania, we ran across this other American couple, or at least I did. I met them. And they were saying that they just came back from South Africa and they were traveling in Tanzania. And they really liked it more than South Africa because when they were in Johannesburg, they couldn't walk outside at night. They were like scared because people told them you can't leave with your cell phone, you can't go outside with your wallet, you can't go outside with any bags because people will literally snatch that off of you. And South Africa also has problems with their electricity, even worse than Tanzania. Like they go 11 hours a day without power. Sometimes like they literally put it up on a website called Load Shedding and tell people, hey, today no electricity from 7 to 6. Sorry, that's just what it
Yeah.
is.
Like
Like,
more planned, but you still don't have electricity.
exactly. That's crazy. Like, that's crazy. And that's like, so that's why it's so hard for me to say, damn, I'm going to live in Africa because you know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
want to have a certain lifestyle. I'm not going to lower my lifestyle for Pan Africanism. or just to go live in a place with black people if I'm gonna be around black people, number one, that are worshiping white people, and two, can't even keep the lights on so I can do my fucking job. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I'm ranting here, but that's
No,
my thing.
I don't know. Like, yeah, like you said, we really wanted to go to Nairobi, or also we thought about like going to Cape Town before we left Africa, but
So
we
close. So
like some
close.
trouble with like our credit cards, and Simon's phone was broken and things like that. So we needed to head back. But I still really want to go to Cape Town because I've heard like the nature was really good and like a lot of hiking and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know about like living there. Obviously, like I have to go and see if I feel safe because that's also one of the top things that I would like I um value, and I didn't talk about it in like any of the countries, but I just want to say that in general in Africa, like walking alone at night, I felt safe. In Europe, I do feel safe. In Turkey, it depends on where I am. Like in Middle East, I don't know why, but I feel the most unsafe in my own country, which is like really sad. But like it's just that some parts of Istanbul are just really shady, and those parts are the ones that scare me a lot. But yeah. But I just wanna say that in terms of safety, I did feel safe, like, on my own in Africa and also, like, Europe as well. Even though, like, I was bothered, I never really felt like anyone was gonna, like, assault me or take my bag and things like that.
Yeah. And Ozzy said, I heard Egypt is unsafe for solo female travelers. Me and Acti have watched so many travel videos of other people going to Egypt, and they have horrible experiences. Like, Egypt is the one, if I do a Black video, and my Egypt one is going to be epic. Like, I know the Egypt video is going to be insane because there's a YouTuber named Mary Jane who went to Egypt, and she did the most hilarious Egypt like breakdown. And there's a other guy who does the food reviews. His name is Best Food Review Show or something like that. And
Yeah.
he annihilated Egypt. Like, I will never go back to Egypt. And his whole job is being Mr. Nice Guy on YouTube. So that's how bad Egypt was. They broke Mr. Nice Guy, Mr. Smile and Eat the Shit. He couldn't even take it. Like, that's how bad, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, but I feel like Egypt with the most, like, the worst problem in Egypt is, like, the also scamming as well, because
Yeah.
that's what most of them were complaining about. I don't know, like, about the unsafety. Maybe it's also unsafe, I don't.
Is number one when it comes to like the sexism, hands down. Like, that's the place that's going to be the most dangerous for like women and the most harassment and stuff like that. Because even in Tunisia, in my experience there, like every girl I met had an experience of people saying, walking past them in the street, "Why are you wearing that?" Or "What are you doing?" And all these stuff that girls that grow up in like Muslim predominant countries get told. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like I wore like, whatever the hell I wanted in Africa, even in like big major Muslim cities, and I never felt uncomfortable. And I don't know if it was because people were already looking at me because I was white, but didn't really feel any sort of way of like what I was wearing, or maybe it was because I was a tourist and I didn't care, like in my head. But those things that I could not wear, like short shorts in Istanbul, I could not wear them because I wore them once, like when I was, my first year in college, and I got traumatized. So yeah, like that sort of experience, it's better in Africa and in Europe when you compare it to Middle Eastern countries because it's more oppressed. So therefore, there's more like that sort of sexual violence and discrimination and judgment. Yeah.
Three important categories to me are quality of life, and so Europe is going to be top in quality of life. Uh, this might sound weird. This might sound weird, but Africa is actually like number two in quality of life because I don't like the conservatism and the closed mindedness. In Africa, there is a certain closed mindedness, but the quality of life there can be good if you have money, right? And so then the third for quality of life for me is like the Middle East, because the closed mindedness can bother you, and just the stuff that people say and think, and that can really be bothering. When it comes to like the racism is going to always be Europe number one, hands down. So racism is going to be the most prevalent in Europe. And like I said, I've never been called nigger more in my life than when I went to Albania, and walking around random places in like Serbia and Kosovo or whatever. So that's always going to be number one. Number two is going to be the Middle East, and then number three, of course, will be Africa, because like there's almost zero anti-black racism there that will be affected towards me.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to the overall feeling of the place, the overall feeling that's important to me, and the culture, I'm gonna put overall
Yeah.
culture feeling, because generally I walk outside here in Hungary and other places in Europe and feel cool. Generally, except Albania, I feel cool when I walk outside.
That's
You get
not
what I'm saying? Huh?
that's not culture.
All right,
I think
but Europe's got a lot of culture though. Let's keep it real, because like you can go into all sorts of different sorts of restaurants, go to different sorts of clubs and stuff like that. Listen, all right, I'm gonna separate the culture then. Overall feeling, I give to Europe. Overall culture to Africa. But still, I feel okay walking outside in Europe.
okay.
But I went to the best parties and heard the best music and ate some of the best food in Africa. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, and then secondly, for overall feeling, I'm gonna give to the Middle East, because for me, just being there, there is that some weird feelings, weird stares when they see a black person in Turkey, Tunisia, whatever, whatever. But overall, it's okay. And the weirdness in Africa is just off the charts for me. Sorry if I'm sound like I'm ranting and we're all
No.
over the place.
No, no, no. Yeah, okay. Well, I'll make my own categories, I guess, cuz I don't know what the hell your categories were, but I'll So, when it comes to the like the accessibility of life or something like that, like the modernity of life and accessibility to different things, I would give Europe the first spot because yeah, everything is more accessible here. And overall, you have electricity and good Wi-Fi and things like that. And the second place would be Middle East, and then last would be Africa. And my second category is like leisure and culture. And for that, I would put Middle East first because yes, I am biased. And Africa in second place and Europe in third place. Because I don't think people really care about leisure and culture and community here. When I say culture, I mean like, culture, like music and art and community and things like that.
I mean, I feel like they do, but it's stuff that we wouldn't like. So like their
No,
music and culture is like, folk Hungarian dance, and like them dressing up in weird costumes and dancing in circles.
yeah, maybe it's that. But I just feel like in general here people like are concerned with work and stuff like that and only the people who are like above average income can afford to actually do like bougie art stuff that they have here. You know what I like?
Hmm.
You have to be rich, sort of be rich and bougie to do all that like cultural artsy stuff. But in Middle East and Africa, you can do that with a low. So yeah. What else? When we talk about like social comfortability, I would say that I'm most comfortable in Europe and then in Middle East, even though there's sexism, and then least is Africa because yes, it's like uncomfortable for me. Um, in that sense,
But you're the safest in Africa.
I, as a woman, yes, I do feel safe in Africa.
Craig Mack checking out. Shout out to Craig Mack. Who's playing, by the way? The NFL. Who's playing? I'm sorry, but go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Continue while he answers.
Okay. Yeah, like as in terms of like sexual harassment and things like that, I do feel safer in Africa, but I'm just talking generally socially, like social comfortability. I
Mm.
feel the most comfortable in Europe, and then in Middle East, and then the least comfortable in social settings like in Africa.
Mm. Okay. So Avery Adams said the Buffalo Bills playing the Philly Eagles. I'm a rock with the Eagles. I'm rocking with the Eagles, man, because I watched a Michael Vick documentary a few days ago, and Michael Vick got picked up by the Eagles, and I love Vick. You get what I'm saying? So I'm
Yeah,
rocking with the Eagles. I don't even know who played for the Bills. No offense, Avery. I'm from Louisiana, so I traditionally rock with the Louisiana Saints, New Orleans Saints. Pardon, the New Orleans Aints, because they ain't gonna win. They ain't gonna win the Super Bowl ever again. You know what I'm saying? But shout out to the Buffalo Bills. Whoever played for y'all. Who played for the Buffalo Bills? Benny the Butcher? Conway the Machine? Who? I'm sorry. I got that was guy talk. That was
jokes.
guy talk. Anyway, anyway. But no, overall, it sounds like you. It sounds like you're leaning towards Europe too.
Yeah, I am. Like in my heart, I do really want to say like Africa, like I said, because I really do appreciate their values. I mean, I explained it before. I'm not gonna say it again, but yeah, like in practicality, yes, Europe does sound like my first choice, and Middle East does sound like my second choice, and Africa does sound like my last choice. But uh, I don't know. I guess like at this age that I am in, which is 25, I do feel like there is a more opportunity for me in Europe and more comfortability in Europe. But I don't know. I feel like at a later stage in my life, I would want to also live in Africa at some point.
All right. Well, I think we kind of talked everybody to death with this one. Like we've been here for an hour and a half, so we're gonna cut this short. But I want to ask you one last question because this is on my mind, and I just want to share this. Like, if you could pick three places that are on your wishes to live, like three places you
Mm,
would want to live, what would they be? Because my list right now, as it is, like number one would be Switzerland, number two would be New Zealand, and then number three would be like Massachusetts, like in the US, like Boston, like because I love Boston. Boston's like my favorite city. I really love Boston. The car is far from the bar. I'm a
wow.
star. I love that shit. I love Boston. You got to go to Boston, man. It's one of the dopest cities in the
Okay.
world, in my opinion.
Okay. I would say um the Netherlands, like Amsterdam or The Hague or something like that. Um, then second, like I'm gonna say Australia. Like New Zealand is okay too because they're kind of similar. Um, and then my third place. Oh God, I don't know. Um, I really don't have any place that I want to live in the States. I'm sorry because it's kind of scaring me. Um, and I also don't know a lot about it. So I think I either want to say like Canada or the UK or Ireland, maybe. But I also want to pick somewhere like hot.
I mean, there's always the Caribbean, Jamaica, Barbados, Aruba, Bahamas, Belize,
Yeah,
Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands.
obviously those places are really nice. And I would love to travel to them, but I don't know about like living there in terms of opportunity and economy. But I am going to say, okay, I'm just gonna like say it out of my mind. I'm gonna say Indonesia. Even though I've never been there, I've heard like good things from you, and it's a hotter place, and the food is good.
And
That
they have Bali.
yeah, so and it's probably affordable. So those would be my three choices.
My thing is Indonesia's great, but Malaysia is like it. Malaysia is one of my favorite places I ever been. They speak perfect English there. It's way more modern. They got it's way more modern than Indonesia.
Okay.
And it's like It's one of the coolest places. Like I can't wait. I wish we were still on road because Malaysia definitely would have been places we would have hit. Like definitely.
We will. We will.
Like Malaysia is really dope. It's like I can't describe it. I can't describe it. It's dope. Malaysia's dope.
Okay. Malaysia, maybe. I don't know. Like Indonesia or Malaysia. So yeah, that's my list.
Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't mind living in Malaysia too. I wouldn't mind living in Malaysia. You know, a part of me wants to go back to the states because the older I get, the more I realize, I'm bad at languages and I suck at them, and I need to stop running from, my destiny, which is to become either the dictator or the president of the United States. One of those two. I need to I need to stop running from what I was meant to become. You get what I'm saying? I
Okay.
need to stop.
Okay.
Why are you saying okay? I'm telling the truth.
Okay, Mr. President.
I'm just telling the truth. I have a destiny, and I know that a part of me like hates going back to America because everything I hate in the world is in America. But then a part of me is like, that's my homeland. And like, I can't just give my homeland to the white supremacists and the fucking gun nuts and all the fucking crazy people in America who want to see our country burn. When we have the greatest possible nation in the world. Possible nation. We're not the greatest nation, but we have the greatest possible nation. Because it's the one nation in the world where it doesn't matter what you look like, what language you speak, what your religion is. You are an American if you just say you are, motherfucker. That's all it takes. You just say it, and that's what you is. You get what I'm saying? You can't do that in Turkey. You can't do that in Hungary. You can't do that in Italy. You can't even do that in Canada, low key, because they were part of the British Empire. You get what I'm saying?
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I got turned up. By
No.
the way, Ozzy said Miami. Let me talk about Miami real quick. Miami is trash. Miami is hella trash. That's right. Avery Adams said he's American and proud. Let me get an American flag in this bitch. I need some American flags in this motherfucker right now.
Wow.
But no, Miami is trash, low key. It's the most beautiful city in the world. It's the most beautiful city on the planet. I swear to God, when you come over the overpass from the Miami City Center into Miami Beach, that overpass, and it's a bright sunny day, and you're in your car or you're on your bike, and you look out on that crystal sparkling water and the tall fucking white high rises and the boat skiing past and girls shaking their titties out the car. It's an amazing experience. It's the most beautiful city in the world. But boy, does Miami have some of the dumbest motherfuckers on the planet. I swear to God. Everybody in Miami is stupid as shit. They're dumb as hell. Dumb as hell. Nobody's got college degrees. Half the motherfuckers didn't even finish high school. Everybody in Miami is just like superficial as hell. They either got some rich daddy or they got some crazy, stupid business selling cryptocurrency online to donkeys. Like, that's what Miami is built on. It's so dumb, bro.
Mm.
Miami is
Really sad to think about. Like, that's such a beautiful city, but the are trash. That's
No, I didn't say the people are trash. No, the people aren't trash, but they're dumb. They're dumb. Miami has some dumbass people, but you know what? You know what? They're making their money. The thing is, everybody in Miami is all about money. You know what Miami stands for? Money is a major issue. That's what Miami stands for.
wow.
And so, wow, oh, wow, Simon, you're really
The
interesting.
wine. It's the wine.
This date is going really well. This is how I got my wife, guys. I just was ranting at her on our first date, and she yawned and said, "All right, okay, all
I'm
right,
sorry.
yeah."
It's the wine. Wine. It's not me. It's not you.
I don't know if Avery Adams is laughing at what I said or if he agrees, but that's my opinion. I lived in Miami for 4 years. The first 2 years were amazing. Were amazing. But if you ain't got the money, man, if you ain't got the money to ball out in Miami, to live in one of them condos, and if you're just not all about, being in the gym 6, 7 hours a day or popping Ozempic like it's Advil, or you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
that's the thing. I feel like a lot of I don't know. I think this is culture. This is a cultural thing because I feel like a lot of Americans are sort of like grow up to adore that sort of lifestyle or to fantasize about that sort of lifestyle, you have money, you have chicks or you have I don't know, like boys or something like that and you go to the gym and you have a nice body and you have good work and you're saving up and at some point you get married and da da da. And it's more like about like very centered around money, and I feel like that's something cultural. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I do think there's some like void in that sort of lifestyle. And
Miami is that lifestyle on steroids, literally on steroids, because half the guys there are on steroids and half the women got the steroids in their ass. It's crazy. Miami is a crazy place. It's sick. It's weird. And like Avery Adams said, NYC, LA, it's about what you got rather than what you know. And that's why I like Boston low key, because everybody there is like hella educated, hella cultured. And then also you got the sea, you got like nice scenery, historic places. It's dope. It feels like a real ass city, not some fake ass shit that they built on the waterfront to make rich Jewish New Yorkers come buy condos at double the market price. It's insane. Miami is just retarded. I'm sorry for using the R word, and everybody. I'm sorry for using the R word. Don't cancel me. Anyway, we're gonna cut this live stream off. Thanks for rocking with me. Shout out to Avery Adams. Shout out to Craig Mack. Shout out to Ozzy. Shout out to everybody who watched this on the live stream or in the playback. We appreciate all of you. Have a good night. Catch you next Sunday. I'm only doing live streams when I get like 10 new subscribers. So right now I'm at 165. So I won't be doing another live until I'm at 175. So share this with your family, share this with your friends, whatever. And yeah, that's all I got to say. Peace.